Hello, Ollie Lothorpe here. Today we're going to be doing a full in-depth bike check on my Archibald AC1. First off, if you would like to go for a demo ride on one of these, you can either shoot me a message on Instagram or Archibald on Instagram, and I can take you out for a ride on one of these. So, starting from the top, Quacky-chan, obviously, staple of the bike. Moving on from there, I'm using the new Leat handlebars and the new Leat stem. Out from there, I'm using rev grips. Reason I'm using the rev grips, the amount of play that they have in them, I think is beneficial, especially on long park days. Like the less that your hands are moving and the more the bike is moving, the less fatigue you're going to get. Personally, I do notice them on long days, so that's the reason I'm using those. Going on from there, Radic Carhartt brakes. I've used a lot of brakes in my time, and to me, these are the most powerful and they have the best feeling in the lever of any brake I've ever used. For me, like going down slabs and having roots and rocks across them, the feeling that you get in these levers, it feels that you can feel every single rock and root in the lever as you're going down things. So for endoing, it's one of the biggest benefits of this. Again, the power is insane. Out of anything I've ridden personally, these are by far the most powerful. So I'm matching up the Radic brakes with Galfa rotors, with Galfa Pro pads. I'm using a 223 on the front and a 203 on the rear. Reason for rotor sizes. Bigger the rotor, more braking force. So on the front, that is absolutely what I want to have. And then I actually used to run a 223 on the rear, but these things are so powerful that for doing manuals, I found it a little bit more difficult to modulate the brakes. So I went for a smaller rotor in the rear purely so I can do manuals a little bit better. Coming down from the brakes, we'll go to the suspension. So I'm using Inten suspension here, German company. Obviously, this is a inverted fork. This is the Inten Flash. These forks are adjustable from 160 to 190 mil of travel. All you have to do to adjust that is put a shock pump on the air side, take the wheel out, take the brake mount off, which is also really easy. It's just 2 bolts, everything stays in alignment, and then you twist the stanchion. So one twist is 1 millimeter of travel. So right now I've got 185 millimeters in the front. Reasoning for that is I wanted more than 180, and 190 seemed a little bit obsessive. I don't know. In the rear, I've got 173 millimeters of travel, and this is the Inten Hover Shock. Reason I'm using this air shock versus a coil is this rear shock feels like a coil compared to any other shock that air shock that I've ridden. This is the closest thing to it. It feels amazing. Most people, when they jump on this, they think it has a coil until they actually look at it. So it's also very, very light. This fork weighs less than a Fox 38 by something like 100 grams. You can check the numbers up. So really light. The rear shock is crazy light compared to a coil as well. The fork. So I've ridden everything else basically out there. And to me, this is the plushest suspension that I have ever used, especially off the top. And for the riding I do, very, very heavy braking forces. And because the stanchions are inverted, one, there's less unsprung mass, so your suspension is going to work better. And then also, as it goes through its travel, if you think of like pivot points from where the bushings are hitting the lower, the higher the suspension comes up, the more it's sitting on the bushing, so the less bushing bite you're actually getting, because all the force from braking is coming upwards. So on a traditional fork, I actually never realized I could feel bushing bite until I rode this fork, but under really heavy braking conditions, the more the fork would come up into its travel, the more bushing bite I actually felt. I didn't realize that until I rode this, and the first time I rode this fork and was braking really hard, I almost thought there was something wrong with it because it was so active. Also in braking bumps, anything like that, again, because it's lighter, it's going to bounce up a lot more. And to me, it feels really, really good. Also, there is a little bit of sideways twist in the fork. A lot of people kind of think that that's a bad thing, but again, this whole bike, I'm trying to get as much compliance as possible. So as I'm riding in a straight line, the front wheel has the ability to move side and side slightly. So that's just less feedback into my arms and hands, less fatigue. There's more control as well. The more something moves around on the ground, the more grip you're going to have. So I really, really like this suspension. Going from there, we have my Noble TR41 wheels. These things are fantastic. They're absolutely bomb-proof. I've put these things through absolutely everything, and I've never had an issue at all. I'm running them with Onyx Classic hubs, so they are completely silent, which is awesome. The Sprag clutch, I really like the feeling of the soft engagement on the Sprag clutch. I will admit that with the secondary engagement on the gearbox, there isn't too much feeling of that compared to a traditional drivetrain, but the silent hubs are fantastic. Inside my TR41s, I'm using Cushcore Pro in front and rear. Reason I'm using it in the front and rear, like a lot of people just use it for rim protection, but personally I really like the benefits of the sidewall support. I will go down to sometimes 14 psi front and rear, so keeping the sidewall support and allowing the top of the tire to deform around everything that I'm riding, super beneficial. Also, it does protect the rims as well, which is always nice. I'm using Maxxis Asgai double down tires. I've used these like front and rear. I've used these on pretty much every bike in the last gosh know how many years. These are tires I really trust. However, I will say I will be trying something else very soon, and I will be doing a comparison on that. Super interested to try some new technology. We'll see how it goes. I trust these things. That's why I've never changed, and it's about time I try something else because it's been like 2 years. Actually, longer than that, probably 4 or 5. Off of that, I'm running a mullet setup on this bike, so 29 on the front, 27.5 in the rear. I'm only 5'7", so I don't have the longest legs. So for me, again, being able to get the front of the bike up because of that smaller rear wheel, I really like doing manuals. I really like doing bunny hops. I like a really playful bike, and having those wheels like this feels fantastic. Equally, larger front wheel. It's going to track a little bit better. It's going to roll over things a little bit better. I've also noticed that in the compressions here, having the larger front wheel, that goes quite smoothly through, and the rear just seems to track straight through. When I was using dual 29, I did have a couple instances of a little butt brush on compression, so that's one thing. But also I found that the rear kind of, I know it was going through stuff smoothly, but I like the way that this sits into a compression versus that rear 29 wheel. So the main thing, Archibald AC1 frame. These are hand built in Vancouver. Every single one is custom built for the rider, so you can do custom geometry, you can do whatever suspension travel you want from 140 to 190 mil of travel right now. There will be some other things coming. Right now you can do a custom build on the frame, custom geometry. Alternatively, there is also just generic sizing as well if you're not 100% sure what you want to go for. These frames are stainless steel, absolutely beautiful. For frame geometry, I'm running a 450 reach, a 62-degree head angle. The reason I'm running such a slack head angle is for riding all the super steep slabs here. Just having that raked out a little bit more, it's a bit more confidence inspiring when you're going down things that are like 60 degrees. It never feels like you get into a situation where you feel like you're going to go over the bars because the front wheel is just constantly going over instead of coming underneath you. I really like that. Cool. Moving on from the frame, big thing here is the gearbox. So I have a 9-speed pinion smart shift gearbox in here. So I've got 9 gears. It's a wide range ratio. So there's no climb that I go up where I ever feel like I need easier gears. And I don't think I've honestly ever ridden it in the hardest gear apart from like maybe the bike park. It's really nice. This is electric shifting. So just tap the button like other electric stuff. This isn't a wireless system, however. Personally, I prefer not having a wireless system, at least with having the battery down here. I'm charging this once every kind of 3 to 4 months. It's recommended for 10,000 shifts per charge, which is fantastic. I don't like having to charge batteries on rear derailleurs, so this is fantastic. And then shifting performance. So you don't have to pedal to change gear with this. So I actually change gear now more than I ever have because it's kind of like just why not be in the right gear all the time? A lot of people have concerns over this, over the fact that you can't pedal, so you can't change gear under load. However, once you get used to the way that this shifts, there's no scenario where I can't shift going uphill. So with a traditional drivetrain, to get a really nice smooth shift out of your transmission, you shift, then you unload the pedals, and it goes into gear smoother than just smashing through it. This is the opposite. So a lot of people jump onto this and they try and do that thing. However, this one, you unweight first and then you shift. This will shift as fast as you press that button. It's just getting the timing right. Once you've got the timing right, like I said, there's no point up a climb where you can't change gear. It's just you have to time things correctly. It isn't a complete unweight of the pedals. You're just still pedaling, but you just give it a little hard kick and then you come off the pedals ever so slightly, shift, and it goes into gear. After riding this for as long as I have, now when I ride a traditional drivetrain, it kind of feels like going backwards in time. Having to pedal to change gear feels kind of dumb after riding one of these. And then there are the other benefits as well of the maintenance. So maintenance on one of these is every 10,000 kilometers of pedaling, you have to do an oil change. That's it. There's nothing that you're going to do to work on this gearbox. In terms of if you do have problems, so if for some reason you manage to break one of these, the only times we've ever seen one break is when somebody has smashed one into a rock really hard. We will be making a skid plate for these as well, or Archibald will be, and that should hopefully fix that issue. But that's the only issue we've had. We haven't had any break just from actual riding. It's always been that. And then also, there's a warranty on the gearbox. Even if you break the gearbox, they will just give you a new gearbox. Like, imagine that with a derailleur. That would never happen. Moving on from the gearbox, you may notice I don't have a chain. So I'm running a Gates belt drive system here. Reason I'm using this is, one, it's silent. The chain doesn't make any noise on the frame, so we don't have to run any frame dampening on there for the chain. That's super nice. Again, with the hubs and everything being absolutely solid, this bike makes absolutely zero noise going downhill, which is wild to ride. All you can hear is the tires on the ground, and I absolutely love that. With the belt also, again, maintenance. I don't like doing maintenance. So with the belt, on a commuter bike, that will last 40,000 kilometers. I haven't ridden it long enough to give a personal say on how long it is going to last, but I imagine it's going to be anywhere between 20 and 30,000 kilometers, depending on how mucky the conditions are. And so with the belt lasting as long as it does, you actually end up changing the cogs before you end up changing the belt. So another thing, I absolutely love my bike. This is something that I honestly will not be able to ride without now, is the Anomaly switch grade. So it's a 3-position saddle adjuster, so you can tilt it down for climbing modes. So when you're going uphill, this then makes the saddle flat. There's a car coming. Just going to pretend I'm not doing anything. La 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 la. Hello. He didn't even look at me. So one of my favorite things on the bike is the Anomaly switch grade. This is a 3-position saddle adjuster, so you can have it tilted down so that when you're climbing, the saddle is actually flat. You can put a lot more pressure into your rear tire, so for really technical climbs, the rear wheel just doesn't slip out on pretty much anything, combined with the high pivot of the rear as well. There's just so much traction. For me, the main thing though is body posture. As you're going up a hill, if your hips are tilting backwards, your chest is getting compressed, and there's less. You can't breathe as well, and it's just not as comfortable. So being able to tilt your hips forwards opens up your chest. You can breathe better. It's better for your back. Yeah, it's really nice. I used to have back problems, and I actually had to quit riding for a little bit to try and fix these problems, and that was the final thing that made me ride without any back pain, which is amazing. Obviously, then you've got it flat for doing flat riding, and you can tilt it down for doing descents. Reason you're tilting it down is the rear of the saddle is going further away, so there's more room in between your legs. Equally as well, as it's tilted backwards, if you're going downhill, it's also then therefore more flat. If you do happen to slip and land on the saddle, you haven't got the back of the saddle like poking up at you, or even if in a flat position, the rear of the saddle is going to be higher up. So I have unfortunately landed on this extremely hard one time, and because it was tilted, I effectively landed on a flat saddle and it saved everything up there, which was lovely. So attached to the pinion gearbox here, we have my North Shore billet Talon cranks. I'm running 155mm cranks. I absolutely love these things. I have bent quite a few cranks in my life, and I've been running these on all of my bikes in the last 3 years, and I have never managed to do a single thing to one of them. They are bomb-proof. Also, the range of lengths that they give, I really, really like. Reason I'm running 155 is not necessarily for pedaling. It's just because of a pure stance thought that I have. When you're riding, the wider your stance is, the harder it is to rotate your hips around. So the closer they are, the more you can get hip extension, and in my mind, the better you can corner. I do ride ambidextrously as well, so having them shorter around, it's quicker to flip around. So for each corner, when I'm swapping my pedals and then allowing my hips to be able to go further and further out, than not swapping them, I really like that. With North Shore billet as well, they do the brake mounts on my bike. Also, just for funsies, they are the ones that machine the Anomaly switch grade. They also machine the lower linkage in this frame as well. So there's quite a lot of North Shore billet going on. It's really nice that they're a Canadian company. They're just up the road, as is Archibald, as is Anomaly, as is Noble. Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm using the Liet Ceramag pedals. Mind you, I have honestly only ridden these twice. I was using the non-Ceramag versions before this, and they are great. They're clip pedals. They're using a Shimano style clip. I've used Shimano style clips for pretty much my entire life. Reason I'm using clips: one, I'm just really used to it. Two, I don't like having the thought that my feet could slip off the pedals going down things. Not that that ever has happened when I have been riding flats, but it is just kind of like in the back of my mind. I have seen it happen. Actually, saying that, I did break my kneecap once because my pedal slipped off. It's a long story. Maybe I'll put the clip here. But yeah, I really like them. Also, to me, clip pedals feel more clipped in than flats, if that makes any sense at all. With a flat pedal, once your foot is on there, they're not moving at all. Whereas with the cleats, once you're clipped in, you've got a degree of motion left and right. So again, another thing of compliance, like with the grips, my feet are able to move slightly left and right, so that's less feedback into my body. It's also the first thing I do when I'm cornering. I will purposely tilt those ankles outwards, and when I feel the edge of the clip, then I know that like the rest of my body can start to come around and my body is in the optimal position for cornering. Another benefit of clips is for climbing. Again, used to be a cross-country racer, used to be a roadie. One thing we really focused on was pedal stroke. So with flat pedals, you can't pull up on the pedals. I do a lot of pedaling on this thing, more so than anything else. So being able to have a almost 100% pedal curve, you use more of your muscles in your legs, so it's better for your body. You're not using the same muscles as much as you would be on flat pedals, because you're using more muscles. Everything fatigues slower. I just really like the clips. Flats are fantastic as well, nothing wrong with them. But for me, doing what I do, I like the clips. Attached to the Anomaly switch grade, I am using a Reform saddle. Really like this. I've had it on for a couple of months. I used to run quite a larger saddle before, and I did like the large saddle with the large front end. So for doing suies and feeling the saddle around, it was a little bit nicer. However, this is a much smaller saddle than I was using before, and there's just less in the way in between my legs. So other than doing suies where it's a little bit more pinchy when you're pinching, I really like the smaller saddle, and the sit bone width for me is perfect. And lastly, we have the Hidden Duck. Thanks, Griffin. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. If you have any more questions, shoot them in the comments, happy to respond, or you can message me on Instagram. And again, if you would like to try out one of these bikes, send me a message on Instagram or Archibald on Instagram or their email as well, and we'll get you set out and you come for a ride with me. Thank you very much for watching.